The inflation targeting, the way what you read out, is in terms of what is known as a formal structured inflation targeting.
Sure.
Otherwise, some sort of a self-imposed inflation target was actually announced by me during my period. The real objective is inflation expectations. How do you influence the inflation expectations? My point was that there was a certain vagueness about the trade-off between inflation and growth, and what should be the desirable, or what should be the expectations. So therefore, so it was informal, it's indicative, that's what I want to do, on a best effort basis. I'm not in a position to promise.
Okay.
So that was the view in which I had taken. Similarly, the decision-making process, one individual cannot be held responsible.
Sure.
And the board of the RBI is a little too diffused, and they have got business interests. So in a way, therefore, the consistent with the law, I will continue to decide, but I will have an advisory committee.
Your technical advisory committee.
Therefore, in principle, both the issue of inflation targeting and the group decision making is not new, but except it has been codified, incorporated into law. Now that issue is whether it is desirable or not, so that's a matter of opinion. My opinion at that point of time has been, and I can't say whether it is equally relevant or now or not, my position at that time has been that that in terms of priorities, while inflation is a priority, given our own history and the geopolitical situation, the external sector balance is very important for most part of our history. We paid a price for loss of freedom of public policy in terms of external sector. So only less than a decade ago, we got over the problem of constraint of external resources. Similarly, you have a situation of financial stability. Thirdly, I was not sure about the extent to which the actions of the RBI would influence the price level.
Sure.
Both on the transmission side and on the index. The weight for energy is high and is core. Weight for food is high. In the energy, most of the taxes, so the tax policy will determine the energy price. Yes. Similarly, you have the minimum support price. In such a complex situation, it will be assuming a formal responsibility.
Yes.
So the responsibility is correct, but formal, well-defined responsibility means that you are putting your reputation at stake. And so therefore that's how I felt. But now whether the circumstances have changed, and also the monetary transmission, we have too many constraints, both in terms of the policy constraints and in terms of the public sector bank ownership. So therefore, if you say whether it is an improvement, it is an improvement in the sense that it is consistent with global practices. They also practice flexible inflation targeting. But whether it is appropriate to our conditions, I cannot say for sure. But I think it will evolve. We are just begun. It will evolve.
So all the reasons that you have listed for your unhappiness with inflation targeting earlier, they continue to be valid. So your reservations also, I presume, continue to be valid?
So it depends on assessment whether the reservations continue to be valid or not, number one. And second is, you can even say that even if the reservations are there, we should overcome it, we should explain. So I think I cannot judge, but now it's a given fact, and it has been done through a legislative amendment. Therefore, I think we should be concentrate on making it succeed. Global experience, as I mentioned in the book, global experience shows that Monetary Policy Committee procedures, the mechanisms, the communication, they are very critical for the success of the work of the committee.
So is part of the problem that in India we seem to have, even though we had said flexible inflation targeting, somehow for some reason the perception is, the belief is that RBI seems to look at it as more as an inflexible number of 4%. So is that where the problem really lies?
I don't know, but legally I think it still has been defined more or less. In fact, we had this discussion. Let me put it this way: when the idea of inflation targeting was mooted, it was inflation targeting period. After global crisis, only the flexible inflation targeting came, because the inflation targeting proved to have problems of instability and So therefore, first of all, the purity of the quote-unquote inflation targeting has been diluted.
True.
Through what is called flexible. In our conditions, that flexible
is very important.
Has been put in terms of a range.
True.
Which is different from the number that I was talking. I was talking of more or less a ceiling, or type of thing. Because the range sometimes, giving a large range, defeats the purpose of influencing the expectations.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.